can I ask you something personal? Do you ever get lonely, Miss Mercer?
Yes.
I figured you'd be working alone today. I didn't want you to be.
You can't just show up at my door, Ethan.
Too late, too early minus, but just right. A SwayTales original romantic drama, The Morning Air, in Miami carried the scent of salt and blooming jasmine when Diana Mercer first noticed him. She wasn't looking for anything. She never was. At 43, Diana had long since closed the door on romance minus locked it, bolted it, and thrown away the key somewhere in the wreckage of her 30s. She had her architecture firm, her corner office with the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay, her perfectly curated life of client meetings, gallery openings, and solitary Sunday mornings with strong coffee and silence. She had convinced herself that this was enough, that she was enough, all on her own. Love, in her experience, was a poorly designed structure, minus beautiful on the outside, crumbling from within. So when Ethan Cole walked into her firm as a new junior intern, 22 years old with paint-stained sneakers and a portfolio tucked under his arm, like it was the most precious thing he owned, Diana barely looked up from her drafting table. Miss Mercer. His voice was warm, a little uncertain. I'm the new intern, Ethan Cole. Put your portfolio on the desk, she said without glancing at him. I'll review it by Friday. That was the beginning. Or rather, minus that was Diana trying very hard to make sure there was no beginning at all. Ethan was nothing like the polished, calculated men Diana had known. He was unguarded in a way that felt almost reckless to her. He laughed, too. Easily. He asked too many questions. He left coffee on her desk without being asked minus always exactly how she liked it. Oat milk, no sugar, minus because he paid attention to people. He cared about small things. The intern who sat in the back, the janitor's name, the wilting plant in the lobby, that he quietly started watering every morning. Diana noticed all of it, and hated herself a little for noticing. He's 22. She reminded herself. Every single time her eyes lingered a second too long. He's practically a child. You have suits older than him, but Ethan didn't feel like a child. He felt like someone who had arrived in her life at entirely the wrong time, minus. Or maybe, in some cruel twist of the universe, exactly the right one. It was during the Rosewood Hotel project that the walls began to crack. They were working late minus just the two of them. Blueprints spread across the conference table. Takeout boxes pushed to one corner. Diana had been staring at the same structural problem for 3 hours when Ethan leaned over her shoulder and quietly said, "What if you don't fight the asymmetry? What if that is the design?" She turned to look at him. He was so close that she could see the faint shadows under his eyes, the earnestness in his expression. Sometimes the flaw is the most interesting part, he said simply. Diana stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked back at the blueprints. Make a revised sketch, she said, her voice carefully neutral. I'll look at it in the morning. She went home that night and stood at her bathroom mirror for a very long time. The confession didn't come from Ethan first. It came from Diana minus, and it came against every wall she had ever built. It happened on a Thursday evening in October, when a sudden storm swept off the bay and trapped them both in the office. Long after everyone else had gone home, they sat by the large windows watching the rain hammer the glass. And somewhere between the silence and the thunder, Ethan said, quietly, "Can I ask you something personal?" "You can ask," Diana said. "I make no promises about answering." He smiled at that minus that easy, unguarded smile that she had stopped pretending didn't affect her. "Do you ever get lonely?" The question landed like a stone dropped into still water. Diana felt the ripples move through her, slow and undeniable. She had spent 20 years being proficient at loneliness. She had dressed it up in independence, in ambition, in the language of a woman who needed no one. But loneliness had always been there, minus sitting quietly in the passenger seat of her car, sleeping on the other side of her bed, echoing in the silence of her Sunday mornings. "Yes," she said. Just that, one word, and it cost her more than she expected. Ethan didn't say anything for a moment. Then, very softly, "Me too." She looked at him minus really looked at him minus for perhaps the first time. Not as her intern. Not as the 22-year-old she kept reminding herself he was. Just as Ethan. A person sitting beside her in the rain, telling her a quiet truth. "This is impossible," she said, and her voice was steadier than she felt. "I know," he replied. "I know all the reasons. I've listed them. I know your age and my age, and I know what people would say. And I know you probably think I don't understand what I'm feeling." He paused. "But I've never been more certain of anything." Diana closed her eyes. She had spent her entire adult life making calculated decisions. She had chosen careers over relationships, independence over vulnerability, logic over the terrifying, irrational pull of the heart. She had been so careful. And in all that carefulness, she had somehow arrived at 43, feeling like a house that had been structurally sound but never truly lived in. "Ethan, I'm not asking you for anything," he said quietly. "I just wanted you to know that when I'm with you, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. You don't have to do anything with that." She didn't give in easily. Diana Mercer was not a woman who gave in to anything easily. There were weeks of careful distance, of professional courtesy stretched thin over something that was very much not professional. There were mornings she arrived early to avoid him and evenings. She found reasons to stay late, telling herself it was the project, knowing it wasn't. There were conversations she replayed in her head, long after they had ended. She called her closest friend, Serena, one night and said, "I think I'm in trouble." Serena, who had known Diana for 15 years, simply said, "About time. He's 22. You keep saying that like it's the only fact that matters. Isn't it, Diana?" Serena's voice was gentle. "You've been alone for a long time. Not because no one wanted you, because you kept deciding that love wasn't worth the risk. So now someone has walked into your life and made you feel something real, and your first instinct is to find a reason to run. Pause. How old do you have to be before you stop doing that?" The shift happened quietly, as real things often do. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture. It was a Saturday afternoon when Ethan showed up at her door with 2 coffees and a rolled-up sketch and said, "I had an idea about the East Wing. Also, I figured you'd be working alone, and I didn't want you to be." Diana looked at him standing in her doorway minus paint on his fingers, coffee in each hand, completely unashamed of exactly what he was doing minus, and felt something in her chest unlock that had been closed for a very long time. She stepped back and let him in. It was not a simple love story. They both knew that. There were looks from colleagues, questions Diana saw forming behind polite faces. There was the morning she caught a reflection of them both, in the office glass minus her in her tailored blazer, him in his casual confidence, minus, and felt the full weight of the gap between them, not just in years, but in where they were in their lives. He was at the beginning of everything. She was somewhere in the complicated, beautiful middle. She said this to him one night, all of it minus every fear, every doubt, every reason she had catalogued against them. Ethan listened to all of it without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "I know you've been hurt before. I know I'm young, and you think that means I don't understand things yet. But I understand this. I understand that you've spent a long time taking care of everything. And everyone except yourself. I understand that you think needing someone makes you less." He looked at her steadily. "It doesn't. It just makes you human." Diana felt her eyes sting minus something that almost never happened to her. "What if this doesn't work?" she whispered. "What if it does?" he said. They were not right in age. They were not right in circumstance. By every conventional measure, the arithmetic of their lives did not add up. But some of the most beautiful structures in the world don't follow conventional rules. They stand because of how their elements balance each other, minus not, despite the tension, but because of it. Diana learned this again, slowly, in the months that followed. She learned that love at 43 felt different from love at 25. It was less wild and more intentional. It arrived not with the blind urgency of youth. but with the quiet, clear-eyed certainty of someone who had lived long enough to know what was real. And Ethan Minus, who had loved her steadily, patiently, without asking her to be anything other than exactly who she was. Minus taught her the one thing all her years of independence had not, that a whole person can still choose to let someone in. That choosing love is not weakness. That some doors, when you finally open them, lead somewhere worth going. We were not right in age, not right in circumstances, but perfectly matched in heart. Minus, and sometimes that is the only architecture that matters. Again.